Since the beginning of the video game era, there has been good and bad controllers, mostly good. But there are some bad ones out there. So today I'll be looking at the top 10 worst controllers ever. How do you be on this list? Well, it's gotta be the faulty controller design or they just didn't work in total. So here they are, top 10 worst controllers ever. Now this controller, there was nothing wrong with the hardware system. It was a pretty good controller with about 4 buttons, a keypad, a joystick, which was the main problem. The joystick it's stiff. You can't move it anywhere. And it's very stiff to move. That's it. It's just very stiff. Now this controller again did not have any hardware problems, but the problem was with the design itself. It had 16 buttons on each side and no joystick. It had a disc instead. Well, if you count the disc as 17 as another button, it would be known as 17 buttons. That's a lot of buttons for a controller. And none of the other controllers have something like that. That's just weird, you think? Now this one is a good example of bad responsivity. It was released along for the PlayStation 2, and the idea was it to become the fighter in the game, which was a good concept. But the main problem was you could not. It was not responsive enough for the controller to go. Sega did have the right intention of making the Activator to becoming a brand new idea, but the problem was that the hardware scheme was so confusing it made the control not non-responsive. That's all it did. This is the launch controller for the Xbox. Now the responsiveness was pretty good, but the problem was that it was just pretty bulky. I mean, look at the size of it. You try putting your hand around it. Come to think of it, you wouldn't want to put your hand around. You couldn't put your hand around it anyway. It's so giant, it would be really uncomfortable to play with it. Now it could have been higher, but it's an Xbox controller. I can't say anything wrong with Microsoft. They were doing a good job on it, but it was just. If you heard of the Power Glove, you probably may have heard about the awful movie The Wizard. The Power Glove was innovated for motion control at an early stage, but the problem was you had to type in a long key, and it really wasn't worth playing with a glove. It didn't really work that well, so Mattel really did not do well on it. But they did well in the Intellivision. That's a good upside, right? What can you say about the Uforce? It had the ability to allow gameplay without using a controller, but the problem was you could not find out what you can do with it. Even warns you an instruction booklet that this morning you were going to suck at it. The CDI remote controller was used as wireless for this film CDI. It also had a bit problems regarding the analog stick. It did not have grip support. Without grip support, it was able to slip off easily. I have nothing else to say about the CDI remote other than it was a pretty good innovation, but not a good controller. Talk about your unresponsiveness. The Atari 5200 controller had the main problem that it used weak rubber boots instead of the regular springs and was not able to recenter. It could have been higher, but it reason it didn't because it was innovative. It had analog stick, a pause button, and a keypad. The Atari 5200 failed because of this controller. But if a controller did not fail, then it wouldn't be on this list. This controller is very bulky. It's hard to play with. It's like a rip-off of the Sega Genesis controller, and it made the gameplay of the Atari Jaguar very hard to play. That's the end of the video. See ya.